Welcome to A Cup with Win, everyone. And today with me, I have Randall. Randall and I actually met. Randall heard me speak on the app called Clubhouse, and something in my Clubhouse profile caught his eye. And in my Clubhouse profile, I say that I'm a sleep apnea advocate because sleep apnea is one of those, it's not only a silent killer, it is one of those diagnoses that is not that easy to diagnose. So that's why Randall and I are here, and we're going to talk about sleep apnea and his work as a photographer. So welcome, Randall.
Thank you for having me, Win. I'm glad to be here and glad to be talking to your listeners about sleep apnea.
And so what is your story? I mean, I know you told me a little bit of your story, but how? How did you get diagnosed with sleep apnea?
Well, I can let your listeners know that from an early age, it wasn't diagnosed. It wasn't really diagnosed until my 30s. And I can give you some signs that were given to me or presented to me that made me question. One of them, as I was a driver driving on the roads, stopped at a red light, and I must have fell asleep in the car because when I woke up, the light was green and all the traffic around me was gone. So that was a moment there that I realized something was wrong. But also, being married in my late 30s, my wife said to me that I was snoring so loudly she couldn't sleep. So we had to get it checked out. So, speaking to a new family doctor, now I've gone 30, maybe 35 years undiagnosed. I went to a family doctor who sent me for a sleep study. And it was then, about 20 years ago, that they diagnosed me with sleep apnea after spending several nights being tested. And since then, using machine, my life has changed a lot.
Yes. Well, for those of you that don't know, the day, well, not a couple of days after I had my initial appointment with the pulmonologist, he goes, I want you to have a sleep study. And I'm thinking, okay, I'll have a sleep study because I've had sleep studies before. Sleep studies and cerebral palsy are quite common. And so I'm like, okay, this seems nothing out of the ordinary. A sleep study is a sleep study is a sleep study. And when the secretary called me to give me my results. She goes, I have bad news. I'm like, just give me the bad news. Bad news is my middle name when it comes to medical. I don't have a clean bill of health. I admit that. So she goes, when you stop breathing 90 times, I'm like, now what? Now what are you going to tell me? She goes, you have sleep apnea and you didn't even know it. So basically, sleep apnea is so misdiagnosed and undiagnosed that it's scary. It's absolutely scary because sleep apnea is the silent killer and it's absolutely scary. Now, there is sleep apnea machines, which are really, really annoying to get used to, but I have gotten used to mine, but they they're nice. I take it off and don't even put it back on. Shh, don't tell the pulmonologist that. But I'm like, this is annoying because um, forced air into your nose isn't natural.
Hmm.
So I don't know how you feel about this, Randall, but do you find it annoying or is it just me, the new sleep
Well,
apnea person to the crew here?
When I can tell you right from the get go, back when I first got mine, the machines were bulky, they were noisy. The first 6 months, it took me just to get used to having something over my nose and strapped around my head. But I'll be honest with you, wherever I go, and I've traveled a lot, I take my machine with me. I do not go a night without the machine. I think maybe once or twice in the last 20 years that I've had to go without the machine, only because where I was, there was no power source. So we even like I've been in a destination where we tried to get an extension cord from the front desk, but they didn't have anything. So that night I did not sleep with the machine. I did not sleep well. And to let your listeners know a little bit what sleep apnea is when you go to bed and you're trying to sleep, you wake up. Well, first you stop breathing many times per hour or per minute, depends on how severe it is, and you're not getting a proper sleep. And this is going to affect your overall health. Could cause heart disease and other ailments within the body. So to have it diagnosed as soon as possible will really help.
And so, what is the biggest myth about sleep apnea um, that you want to break?
Well, there's a couple, but the one that really bothered me is I'm overweight, and I admit that. But a lot of people have this opinion that the only people with sleep apnea are people that are obese. I want to change public opinion and let them know that there are a lot of people in various body shapes and sizes that do suffer from sleep apnea, and that it is good that they get diagnosed. And let's stop that stigma that only obese people get sleep apnea. That's
Yes,
one.
please, please, let's stop that sleep apnea right there because I'm skinny in the little and I have it.
I think the other thing I like to is difficult traveling with the equipment, because when you're traveling into some countries, such as I'll give you example Cuba, because I've been there many times, is every time I go through, I have to open the machine. I have to show them the working parts. Even here in Canada, where I'm from, going through the airport in Toronto, as soon as it goes through that X-ray machine, or just before, they say, "Okay, can you open it up? We want to see the parts." Not that they want to understand what it is, but they want to make sure I'm not hiding anything else in there. So it is cumbersome sometimes to take that piece of equipment, but it's something that I need to take. It's it will save my life, and if not having it, I could die. So I'm very grateful that I've been diagnosed. I'm very grateful that they have equipment that they can use to help us breathe. And I agree, it is annoying. I've been in situations where I've been with family during the holidays and where we go up north. I have to sleep in the living room. So when the little kids come down in the morning to see their presents, they see Uncle Randy wearing this mask and they tell you, what's wrong with you, Uncle Randy? And I say, I'm practicing to be a pilot.
Well, good, good. I may steal that line. I may steal that line, Randall, because of I'm around kids and they don't get me to begin with. They don't get the concept of I walk funny and I talk funny. They just they just are completely rude. Let's be honest, and adults are completely rude too. So I have was a good line for my sleep apnea now too, just in case I want to run into those situations. But let's talk about something else. You said you're a photographer,
Yes, I am.
and so what has been your favorite destination you have gone to, and what has been the favorite destination that has accepted sleep apnea and your needs?
Well, we want to talk about my photography and my travel. I've fortunate enough to have been able to go to England, Ireland, and France, many of the islands in the Caribbean, Mexico, throughout the United States and Canada. When it comes to what would be my favorite destination, I would have to say I love Ireland, but Antigua, I went to Antigua for a week and the people there were just amazing. I was there as the country was celebrating their Independence Day, and the people building up to that were so excited, getting things ready. I've never seen
That
it.
must have been so cool.
It was very cool, and what I liked about it was they're very passionate and very excited to share the experience with visitors to their country.
Yeah.
But I would say that it's some of the Caribbean islands, they just don't get the machine. I think when I was in Ireland, England, and France, I guess there's a lot of people there that have the machine, so they've seen it many times. They understand what it is.
Yeah.
With the machine, I do have a travel document. It is written in English. So sometimes going to a destination where they don't speak the language, it may be difficult to translate what the machine is. So I take it apart, show them how it works, and then I get to go on my way.
Yeah. But as I said, I have family in the Bahamas, and fat chance I'll be going to the Bahamas now with my medical needs. Eesh, there's no way. There's no way because, as you say, the all these Caribbean cultures, not to say that we don't love them, but they don't understand disabilities and they don't understand sleep apnea. And I knew that way from the get go. And it's like, nope, I won't be visiting you. Cross off my
Hmm.
bucket list. Even though I have family down there, I can't deal with the customs and I can't deal with, and when I say customs, I mean literally customs, and I can't deal with them breaking my machine and
Yeah.
me having to get a new one.
Well, I think too, a lot of people are what I call ignorant when it comes to people with disabilities. They'd rather ignore them than to embrace them.
Yeah.
And people may look at me like I am obese. I have other disabilities. I had a heart attack. So I have heart disease. I had a episode where they thought it might have been uh, a stroke, but it wasn't. Like we got tested after, or I got tested afterwards. It wasn't positive that it was a stroke, but it was an event that was very scary. Um, and I have severe arthritis, which is another disability. But those are things that you can't physically see. And a lot of people don't understand that. When you have a disability that is visual, a lot of people, rather than helping or accepting it, they're ignorant to the person or people. And I just don't get that. I don't understand. We're all people. We all want the same thing at the end of the day. So I would say, let's stop the being ignorant and let's accept everybody for who they are.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And let's accept everyone for who they are. Now, once the borders open and once this pandemic monkey business is over, where would you like to go?
Well, when you say that, it's funny because I like to go. I have family that live just outside the city that we haven't seen for a while. So I like to see them, but I also like to. I have family in England. Um, I know England's been hit really hard. United States has been hit really hard, but I would like to see my family in England. I haven't seen them since 2017, and that's what I really like. Once the gates open and we're allowed to travel, and there's pretty much guaranteed that everybody's been vaccinated, England would probably be the place I want to go and visit family.
Yep. Okay, visit family. No Wookiee trip, no photography trip. And so, what did you learn during the pandemic, during when everything was locked down?
Well, I took it upon myself. I knew there was going to be information coming out from the media and our government, so I took it upon myself to educate myself. So I took a course at Johns Hopkins University, another course at Imperial College of London, both on epidemiology, the study of the transfer of the disease, how it travels, just so I'd have a better understanding when the media is talking to me and my government's talking to me. I also learned how to do a podcast. So I also have my own podcast. I started in June. We're up to 30 episodes now. It's about travel. It's called Passports and Postcards, just trying to keep the dream alive. I used to sell travel 7.5 years, but because of COVID, shut my business down. But I still love promoting travel.
Yes. And you guys, I'm actually coming on Randall's podcast to talk about the fun and the challenging side of disability and disability travel. And yeah, it's going to be an interesting podcast because TSA do TSA and I do not get along and will certainly not get along with the sleep apnea machine. I know that. But I'm still willing to jump on the airplane, jump in the car, and travel. So, Randall, where can people find you, and where can people get a hold of you to figure out more of your story, and if they want to talk to you more in depth about sleep apnea?
Well, I'm available on Facebook. I'm there, Randall Clint McEwen. I'm also available. You can follow me on my podcast, which is Passports and Postcards. Um, and if you wanted to reach out to me via email, it is Randall. I'll spell it if you want. It's RANDALL dot McEwen, which is McKeown at JLSETOR.com. And some people ask me where I got that email address from. And basically, it is another business I started up. But again, due to COVID, it stopped. And that was being a photographer for professional rugby here in Toronto. We hope to restart soon if the government lets people travel, lets teams travel. Right now in Canada, the only ones that are traveling are the hockey teams in the National Hockey League. But basketball, the Raptors, Toronto Raptors, are playing in the States. The soccer team we had, the Toronto FC, were playing in the States because the government didn't want teams traveling across the border.
Isn't that interesting? And um, to just give you guys a heads up, once you get diagnosed with sleep apnea, they will do a sleep study on you. It's the only way they can do a sleep study, and a pulmonologist will ask you a set of questions like, "Do you fall asleep in the car even when you're a passenger? Do you have this? Do you have that?" And you have to be truthful, and then depending on where you're located, they will come out to your house and get you set up. I decided to go because little old me has to do things herself now. Um, I decided to go with a small mask for me just because I didn't want this big, huge thing on my nose. But as I said, forced air in your nose is mightily uncomfortable. So I hope you enjoyed this episode of A Cup with Win, and we'll catch you guys next time. And I will catch you guys next time. I hope that you were able to relate to two sleep apnea survivors here. And if you guys want to follow me, you can follow me and get more information about me. But sleep apnea is something I advocate for now because it's so unknown and it's so cool in the sense that they have technology that could save lives. So just embrace your disabilities and let's make this world a better place. Thanks to you guys. Bye, you guys.